Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, welcome back to the channel. Once again, we have another news roundup for you guys for Battlefield 6. It's really been coming thick and fast the past couple of days, so much so that yesterday I just didn't have the time to get through everything. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the largest map in Battlefield 6, Mirak Valley. We have a bit of an overview for that one. We've got a bunch of data mines out of Temporal, and among them, a new railgun that has been found within the game files. And then we have a brand new update for Battlefield Labs, how to get into Battlefield Labs, all of the testing that's going to be taking place there. So as usual, if you guys enjoy the content here on the channel, make sure that you are subscribed to stay up to date with everything Battlefield. And thank you guys so much for the support. You've absolutely been killing it over the past few days, so just really massive thanks for that. Okay, so this right here is the first thing I want us to take a look at, and this is the first ever whole image, really, of Mirak Valley. Now, this is touted as the largest map in Battlefield 6, which is something that should please those of you looking for that sort of thing. And the first thing that struck me is down here in the bottom right, we have an airfield, well, not so much as an airfield, but more of an airstrip, I suppose. Here we've got the Gripen jet, and I think this is an Su-57. I believe this is a Black Hawk helicopter, and then this is some sort of attack heli here. We've got a couple of tanks here, a couple of IFVs. In fact, that one looks to be an AA tank, and then some jeeps at this side of the road. It's hard to tell, but I think this is just like drawn up concept art. It's not actually, snapshotted from within the game. So these numbers of vehicles here could just be like a placeholder there to indicate that this is a more combined arms focused map. But I think it's safe to say that this map is going to have a lot more vehicles on it than we've previously seen before. Another thing I notice here is it's a lot less desolate and barren than I first expected. If you look on this side of the map, it's all sort of quite pristine, really. We've got these nicely ploughed field or harvested like hay fields or whatever they are. And then we have this whole intact city in the middle, or village, I suppose you could call it. But then on this side of the map towards the back, it's all gone to shit. Everything has been blown up here. What I previously thought in other shots was a twisted steely bridge, it actually turned out to have been a pylon, and I think it's this one right here that's fallen over. So most of the shots we've seen of this map so far have been taken in this direction, and you've just been looking at the mud and the trenches and all the rest of it. But actually this map looks like it's going to have quite a bit of contrast there. Okay, moving on from that, let's take a look at a couple of things out of Battlefield Bulletin that he has grabbed here from various sources. And unfortunately, whilst DICE have been generally giving Ws, as the cool kids would say, these are most definitely some pretty significant Ls in my book. So let's take a look here. First of all, well, this one's actually pretty cool. So we're starting on a good one here. I believe this is a screen cap from the trailer that was put out yesterday, and he says, "Nothing beats watching the helmet fly off after a headshot. Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 enjoyers rejoice." And apparently this was a thing in those games. I didn't really play those games, so I'm not aware of it, but hey, this looks pretty nice. I'm all for that. It definitely adds to the, not the immersion, but just the fun, I suppose, of headshotting somebody. However, then we get to the bad stuff here. So Ripple Effects Studio technical director Christian Boole says Battlefield 6 won't have spectator mode or platoon system at launch. No official word yet whether it's coming at some point later. So this one is a big deal to me. I would say spectator mode less so, because spectator mode to me is somewhat of a niche thing, right? It's perhaps only something that people who want to revitalize the competitive side of Battlefield are going to use, or maybe content creators like myself. It's not going to apply to everyone. Don't get me wrong, I would love to have spectator mode, but it's not as important as the platoon system. The platoon system is something that everybody shouted out and asked for the next Battlefield game. And if you're not aware what this is, it came in, I believe, with Battlefield 3, and it was a community area where you could create your own platoon. And I had one, for example, in Battlefield 4, it was called the Ghost Gaming Platoon, and if you joined it, you could see everybody in that platoon and when they were online, in what servers they were from within the game. So at the moment, I generally like to play with a lot of you guys, and the only way you can play with me is you have to physically like add me to your friends list. And I only have limited spots, for example, on my friends lists. So this would have been a great place for me to be able to hang out with you guys. And, you know, it's just like makes you feel more included, right? You log into the game, you're part of a platoon, you can see, oh, let's see who's online, instead of this feeling of just having maybe like one or two friends that you regularly play with. You'd have this whole bunch of people. And then you would also have a platoon tag at the end. So mine was like GG, and if I saw somebody in game with GG, I knew that they were part of my platoon, right? And just imagine the possibilities. Instead of having the UI that we have in Battlefield 6 right now, which is quite drab and boring, honestly, if I'm being quite brutal there, as DICE like to sometimes say. But imagine if instead you logged in and you saw this platoon screen, and maybe the best platoons or the top rising platoons would be at the top. You could click on that, join it, you know, before you know it, you're part of a community, and those people are maybe going to be a little bit more lenient with helping you learn how to play the game because you're now part of their community as well. I just think that is really like a massive missed opportunity. Again, there's no telling that it's not going to be in the game at some point, but the fact that it's not going to be there at launch, it pretty much spells out that it's probably never going to be in there, and I just think it's a massive oversight from DICE and EA and all the other studios working on the game to not include this. It has to be said. Anywho, let's move on to the next thing here, because it doesn't get much better. So, Ripple Effect confirms Battlefield 6's UI will receive a few changes based on some of the biggest feedback, but they have no plans to rebuild their menu from scratch between now and launch. Technical director Christian Bull admits it's probably still going to be a little bit clunky when they launch, but they're going to continue to improve it going forward. So I was one of the people who kind of hoped for like a full-blown UI reconstruction. I thought that the one we had in beta was basically just from labs and they were using it as a placeholder thingy. Apparently that's not going to be the case. There are going to be some tweaks, there are going to be a few changes, as he puts it here, but like don't expect anything huge if you weren't a fan of the Netflix style. Now, this one here is slightly better, and this is coming out of David Serland, and he says, DICE has disabled the green rings around ammo and health crates in Battlefield 6. David Serland says they've made other arrangements. So these are the green rings in question here, in case you missed them whilst you were playing the beta. And I suppose the reason they've removed them is to aid in immersion and realism for the game. I'm probably in the minority here, but I would say they didn't really bother me too much. I mean, maybe they were a little bit intrusive, like maybe the double green line here is unnecessary. I would just prefer like the Battlefield 2042 style line, honestly, like a single solid line. But in this game, the way you restock ammo and meds is different. It's not like in previous games where you run into the zone, the area of effect, and you instantly get the health heal and then you can leave, or you get the resupply and then you can leave. You have to stay in there while you're resupplying your gadget, your ammo, your health, whatever it is, and as soon as you move outside of that zone, it stops. So it's more important in Battlefield 6 to know exactly where that is. Now, he does say they have made, what did he say here exactly? They've made other arrangements. So I have no idea what that means. It probably means there's going to be some sort of an indication on screen to tell you when you're in and out of that area of effect without having the green line there. And if that works, then obviously I'm all for that. But I would love to know what you guys think of this change below. Also here, Battlefield 6 is going to be at the Tokyo Game Show, and it says, celebrate Battlefield's return to the Tokyo Game Show after 10 years. Tune into the live stream on Twitch and YouTube on the 25th till the 28th of September and watch the new standard of FPS combat in action. So that could be like quite a big event there where they reveal a lot of new gameplay. I will almost certainly be streaming it here on the channel just like I did with the reveals for the game. So if you guys would like to hang out with me and have a bit of a co-stream and just, you know, discuss and chat about what we're seeing together, then feel free to come by the channel. If not, I'll definitely be doing a follow-up video on all of that stuff when it comes to it, because that's obviously going to be very, very close to the launch date of October the 10th. Okay, next I want to go over the community update for Battlefield Labs testing. Now, if you guys saw this one yesterday, or perhaps from another content creator, because this did come out yesterday and I kind of missed it, to be honest with you, there will be timestamps below. So if you want to skip to the data mines from Temporal, feel free to do that. But we're going to go over this community blog post here. They say, hello everyone, Battlefield Labs is returning. As we resume testing the latest updates and content, we are focusing on refining and polishing the game for launch using the amazing feedback received during open beta. Thank you. This includes new maps and a first look at the server browser. We look forward to hearing your thoughts as well as the feedback from people who test this content as we continue to build Battlefield together, leading up to the October the 10th launch. So Battlefield Labs is resuming, guys. The end of the open beta now provides us with the opportunity to return to Battlefield Labs play sessions. This time around, these sessions may occur at more varied intervals as we target finalizing the launch balance and features of Battlefield 6. So that is an interesting sentence there. May occur at more varied intervals. So does that mean we're going to be getting more than one test every 2 weeks, as was the norm before? Or is it just that it's not going to be always on a Friday like it was before, maybe differing days? Who knows? But it could be that they start doing a lot more testing than they were. So Battlefield Labs is intended as an experimental environment where the latest changes and work-in-progress ideas are tested with players in a closed and private space. The content played here will often be in various stages of production, including items in alpha state, which may result in less polished or stable builds during gameplay. This setup allows us to balance and make adjustments much faster as we shape the future of the game with you. Work with the community to shape the future of the game. Okay, before we dive in, some areas that we'll be focusing on. If you're interested in shaping the future of Battlefield with us, sign-ups for Battlefield Labs have now resumed. I will link you guys this in the video description as well. If you've already signed up, you should be good. You should still be in the pool of players to be picked, and I do believe it's completely random, so I don't think it matters when you signed up here. We've had a look at this screenshot yesterday, but this is the first look at the server browser, and honestly, it looks like pretty much what I expected for a Portal 2.0. It's not clear yet whether this is linked to, like, how it's linked to the front end, if it's linked to the matchmaker, and I think those two pieces of information are absolutely key that will only be revealed at a later date when we get our hands on the game. Some of the most frequent questions from the community have been about server browser availability and functionality. In an upcoming Battlefield Labs play session, we will enable an early implementation of this portal functionality within the community tab. At this stage, our main goal is to observe how it works in practice, with initial feedback focusing on accessibility and UI clarity. As with the custom search functions seen within the recent Battlefield 6 open beta, these features should be treated as work in progress. They are not final, and for now, the scope of the server browser is intentionally limited so that we can focus on stability and core usability. Battlefield Labs is a vital part of our collaboration with the community, helping us shape and validate these systems together, and these tests will be limited in functionality and use cases, allowing us to focus on feedback and ensure stability before expanding further if necessary. Players will see only a subset of functionality and community experiences. Portal custom community experience building will not be available in this test, so we're not going to be able to create maps, which I think is another thing that we really want to find out exactly how that works. And here is another screenshot here. So this is the maps and mode section. You can select every map and game mode here that you want to play, apply the filters, and then search. But again, this I don't think is tied into the matchmaker. It's just really not clear. This is within the customize filters field or section. So upcoming Battlefield Labs play sessions will focus primarily on hosting, where we will concentrate on the ease of setting up player-owned servers via predefined shortcodes, altering descriptions, selecting tags, and joining those experiences. We are aiming to validate this flow to ensure the scalability and accessibility of the feature. So hosting and customizing, players can use the experience library to find a verified conquest experience using a provided shortcode. So that sounds actually basically how it works in Battlefield 2042. You get a code for an experience, you put it in when you want to host something. So enter the shortcode in the search field to access the mode, then choose to play, see a pre-filtered list of active servers, or host to set up your own server where you'll be able to alter descriptions, rotations, and tags. And then we've got joining and experiencing. Players can join via the experience library as described, or open the server browser from the UI to view all currently running servers. From here, you can select servers, join them, and explore tag filters. And we'll also use this opportunity to gather feedback on the tag and filtering systems to identify areas of improvement in live service. So as far as I can tell, it sounds like it's basically going to work just like in Battlefield 2042, right? If you want to create an experience, you get a code, you put in the code, you make the experience, and if you want to join an experience, you go in your filters and you decide what you want here. And here are some of those, well, they call them tags here, but essentially like part of the filtration system. And we've got stuff like friendly fire, you know, if you want something heavily asymmetrical, that's not like balanced, I suppose, maybe. No HUD hardcore. Of course, these are like two of the modes we saw a lot of in Battlefield 2042. Short experiences, class-locked weapons. This kind of rings alarm bells a little bit in my head. The fact that they're putting this here, it kind of makes me think, are they then just not going to have any playlists with class-locked weapons? I also kind of feel like this should be called open weapons and the default should be class weapons, but I digress. Let's not get into all of that right now. Then we have combined arms testing. So before the open beta, Battlefield Labs play sessions are focused on fundamentals of gameplay, such as movement, gunplay, and destruction, alongside ensuring that server stability is efficient for the open beta and beyond. Open beta has highlighted feedback around a need to ensure balancing occurs across different sized environments, and we are now entering a phase of Battlefield Labs where this becomes one of our primary focuses as we continue to collaborate and work on future optimizations for the game. Improvements to weapons, large-scale vehicular combat, gadget balancing, and more are set to take place within Battlefield Labs. So this is a relief for me to hear that they are going to place more emphasis here on hopefully vehicle balancing, because Lord knows the jets and the helis need a lot of work in my opinion. So new maps such as Operation Firestorm and Mirak Valley are designed for combined arms support, and vehicles take center stage, featuring a diverse range of vehicles from quad bikes to tanks and aircraft. We aim to validate gameplay balance on these new locations and compare it against previously tested maps. We'll also be using Battlefield Labs to determine the official setting for hardcore mode, and we look forward to working with players to define it. Until then, here's a sneak peek at Mirak Valley, and we have of course already looked at that one. So what is next? Battlefield Labs will continue to be an essential space for testing new features and balance changes as we continue this journey. Your feedback during these sessions is invaluable and will help guide our final and post-launch adjustments. We'll share more about what's next for Battlefield Labs and our progress in future updates. So there you go, guys. That is what's happening with Battlefield Labs. Good to hear that they are expanding their horizons somewhat when it comes to labs that have never been played before. You guys will probably know by now I am a part of Battlefield Labs, so I will be able to experience that. Unfortunately, the NDA is now going to be back in place, so once again, I will no longer be able to talk about anything from Labs. Well, unless something leaks out, I suppose, in which case I'll probably make a video on that. But that's pretty cool. And speaking of leaks, that kind of segues us nicely into the next thing I want to talk about here, and that is coming from Temporal. So first of all here, he says, here are a few weapon package designs in Battlefield 6. You can mark a package as a favorite for quick access, and then you can call it in as a custom weapon drop in the Battle Royale. So the gadgets like the Igla or melee weapons can also be customized with different skins. And here are some of the skins. And I gotta say, they look pretty nice. They don't look too crazy or over the top here. I can't actually zoom into these for you guys, but hopefully they're large enough. You will notice on the butt of this rifle here, there's like part of an American flag. I think that's definitely something realistic and grounded there. I don't think any of these look like too crazy. This one's got like a bit of a gold theme going on. But honestly, like, I like these skins. Like, I think they're absolutely fine. Let me know what you guys think of them below. Now, moving on from that one, he also says here, in Battlefield 6's Battle Royale, strike packages will let you call in tools for different situations. So we've got Kinetic Strike, which is a prototype orbital firepower, devastating to structures, precise with minimal blast. And then we have power weapons, potentially a railgun or a minigun. Both have been found in the files. So we've got a shot of Independence Day and a bit of Arnold Schwarzenegger here from, I believe this is the film Eraser, and this is of course from Terminator. So, man, that makes me want to go watch some good old 90s Arnie films right now. Those were the days, weren't they, guys? But this is... Clearly, there's no way of, like, telling how powerful this, especially, is going to be. But, like, orbital firepower, that sounds pretty nutty. And he's also added to this, saying additional battle rail strike packages. So we've got an airstrike from F-16s, anti-vehicle crates from, that is the Javelin there, artillery strikes, redeploy units, the UAV Overwatch, smoke screens, resupply drops, and then you've got custom weapon drops. So these are all going to be things that you can presumably call in the Battle Royale mode. I gotta say, the thought of airstrikes from F-16s, like, we all know what the jets sound like when they buzz overhead in Battlefield 6, so the thought of F-16s flying overhead and dropping ordnance actually kind of gets me horny. I'm not gonna lie, guys, like, it sounds incredible. Now, over on Reddit, this has also simultaneously been posted here, and this cannot be a coincidence. This must be presumably in the new Battlefield Labs build, which has just been updated. It's not a coincidence that Temporio posted this almost on the same, I think the same day, but almost the same time as this person has. And this is like some sort of a mock-up here that they've done in Blender of the Railgun. I don't really know what these two are, but this thing here looks like a massive cannon. I mean, just look at the size of that slug right there. Absolutely insane. We've seen the Railgun, of course, in Battlefield 4, and it's interesting because DICE seem to keep putting references to Battlefield 2142 in their various games. Of course, recently we've seen the new prototype weapon. You know, that's another reference there for Battlefield 2142. So it feels to me like maybe 2143 isn't that far away. I definitely feel like they could revisit that futuristic setting at some point. So, there you go, guys. That is going to wrap this one up. I know it's been a very long video, but like I said, I had a lot to go over. Hopefully, the timestamps were useful, so if you guys have already heard some of this information, you were able to skip around the video. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching today. Let me know in the comments what you think about all of this, you know, about the lack of platoons, about the UI not changing. I can't even remember. We went over so much stuff, just like the Mirak Valley map, all that stuff. Leave your comments below. As always, if you did enjoy the video or you found it useful, leaving a like is massively appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with Battlefield 6, and I will see you all in the next video.